The use of superannuation to buy real estate is nothing new. What is newer, and what is perhaps more relevant for a lot of people, is that you can now effectively borrow within a superannuation fund to buy real estate. Up until September 2007, this is something that you pretty much couldn't do. Super funds couldn't borrow, and the prohibition on borrowing is still in place. However, there are rules that now exist and changes to legislation that allow a superannuation fund to buy real estate, and to do so using borrowings. It isn't a straightforward process, and the purpose of trying to explain the basic issues is really just to convey the general position of how this works. If you've got money in superannuation, generally that money is invested in shares, cash, it's in retail funds, industry funds. It depends how you have your superannuation held. In order to use a super fund to buy real estate, you effectively have to set up your own superannuation fund. Now this raises questions about whether you want to do this. There are costs involved, and you've got to look at what sort of person you are, and you also need to look at the investment agenda. Remember, it's important, if you're going to buy real estate, you have to look very carefully at the type of real estate you're buying, why you're buying it. Is it better to buy real estate? Perhaps it's better to buy some other investment type asset. But on the assumption that real estate is what you're interested in, and to be fair, a lot of people, particularly Australians, have a strong affection for real estate in terms of investment, and in view of recent economic turmoil, there's certainly some indication that real estate has proven to be a fairly stable investment. The future of real estate prices, of course, is unknown, but to this point there seems to be evidence that real estate, in terms of residential property in particular, has held up very well. One of the problems of buying real estate in superannuation, of course, is that real estate is expensive. If you want to buy a house, you don't buy them for $50,000 or $100,000. Often you need $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 to buy a quality real estate investment. In essence then, to undertake this strategy, you need to set up a self-managed fund and transfer your existing superannuation into that fund. If you've got an existing superannuation fund, then presumably you have to release the monies in those funds into a cash type environment. Once the money is in a self-managed fund, that fund can theoretically borrow to buy real estate. An example I gave in the advertisement in the Echo was effectively a fairly straightforward process of a super fund borrowing $200,000 and investing cash of $200,000 to buy a rental property. Very typical transaction. One of the advantages of buying real estate in this way is that it sort of creates a debt out of what you might ordinarily would say is your take-home pay servicing area. In other words, if you think about it, you now have a loan in your super fund. How are the loan repayments going to be made? Well, so long as you're careful with the amount you borrow, and this is all an important part of this, then you can service the debt through the rental the super fund receives from the property it owns, plus any other assets it may have. You can also, and you should be expecting to be making contributions to that fund. Your employer, your business, whatever, you're putting money into that superannuation fund. Those funds can then be used to pay the loan. What happens then is you seem to be servicing a loan without actually having to find additional monies to do so. The rent's paying for it, your contributions that you're putting in anyway are also paying for it. So the result is you seem to have a loan that takes care of itself. This then allows for easy servicing to some extent, and it also means you now have a property in your super fund, and for a lot of people that is something they want to do. The other advantage of superannuation is it's a very taxed concessional environment. Let's say, for example, the property does well in terms of growth and capital gain. You could theoretically sell that property in the fund and pay 10% tax. If the fund goes into pension phase, and this could be quite a possibility, you would pay no tax at all. Now, there are issues about how this actually is achieved, but it's certainly true to say that a capital gain within a super fund can be taxed at very low rates and can in a lot of cases be tax-free. That is often not the case if the property is in your own name. The main advantages then are the fact that you can buy real estate, you can borrow, therefore you can often afford to buy something like a rental property that otherwise you perhaps could not have done. The main disadvantage of this sort of strategy is that it isn't a simple acquisition of a rental, the traditional borrow X dollars in Mr. and Mrs. name and buy a rental. You need to effectively have a self-managed fund, you need to make sure the lending is done pursuant to the regulations, and there are other issues that need to be attended to before this strategy will work effectively. Our office at Midland Financial Group is proposing to run a seminar to explain some of the details of how this works. This seminar is not intended to be aimed at showing you the marketing side of this. It's more a technical type seminar to explain to people who are interested in this what the issues are, what you need to be careful of, what the costs might be in this, how it works. The idea is that you attend a seminar like this and you should leave with an understanding of how this actually works. That should help you make a decision about whether this is for you. You need to look carefully at what costs are, you need to look at what sort of investment you're buying, you need to make sure that what you are doing is logical, and it needs to make sense in terms of your retirement agenda. But it is certainly something that people do. Clients of our practice are implementing these sort of investment strategies. If you wish to attend such a seminar, please email us at www.robertlopez.com.au. That's our website. From there you'll have all the respective email address and ask to attend the seminar. If you're a client of Midland Financial Group, there is no fee charged. For those of you that aren't clients, there is a small fee that we are charging of $30. The main reason for this is simply to make sure we confirm up numbers when we run these. The seminars will be run in the evenings, probably at around 6 p.m. and we will be providing about a 45-minute presentation on this strategy. If you have any further queries, please contact us on 9250 2771. Thank you.